Hello, guys. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Touchline podcast. Thank you very much for joining. Please do well to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, comment, like, share, and on Facebook, click on the follow button, comment, like, and share as well. Today is another exciting episode, as I said early on, but today we have two special guests in our midst. So I'm here with
You are here with Mr. Enoch Omanga, who is joining you to look at some of the insights over this season's transfers and also looking at over just just concluded Club World Cup and other things
you
that
know,
may arise at this
and
period.
then we have another guest in our midst.
Yeah, I- I'm also I'm also Boateng, or popularly known as OB, and I'm also here
Yeah,
to actually share more
yeah,
insights about the current transfer, especially with respect to the EPL, and then
yeah.
just the ended Club World Cup. Yeah, we might delve deeper into how what actually went wrong, where did PSG actually mess up, and then how did Chelsea also.
Okay, okay. Now let's move straight into the Club World Cup, as you said. Before the World Cup began, we know in every tournament. Uh, okay, before we even go into the Club World Cup, do you value the Club World Cup as a very serious, or do you value it as a competition that should be placed in the league of the Champions League, the top leagues? Where are you going to rank the Club World Cup, because this is a new competition and it's a new football system that has been introduced into the football system, because we know the club um World Cup competitions has always been teams from winners from the various continental competitions that come together to play. But this was an extended version that involves a number of club teams. Looking at the magnitude of the number of club teams, looking at the pedigree of the clubs that played in the competition, you can talk of the likes of the current Champions League winners. You can talk of, Real Madrid. There are some big names in the competition. Where do you rank the Club World Cup? That is the current format of the Club World Cup. Where are you going to rank it among the competitions that we have in world football? Obi.
Well, I would want to digress a bit because when FIFA actually introduced this Club World Cup to increase the number of teams that are participating, um, or a shift from the previous one, which we used to know, like intercontinental cups, and then now we have a Club World Cup, which I think this is a perfect name for the tournament because previously we could have actually termed it as an intercontinental cup where we will have winners from Europe, South America, North America, Africa, and then Asia grouped together, and then they are being played, and usually always one-sided. Yeah, for me, I wouldn't rank or put this in anywhere in terms of, because if we just say it's a club World Cup, so the pedigree or the how competitive it is should be compared with like the likes of the World Cup, I would say no. The likes of the Champions League, I would say no, because one, we have to look at the teams that are actually being put up to play this particular tournament. So that's the first thing I'll look out for. And then the second thing is, for me, I was looking at the now football is becoming more, how do I say it, more money involved than the passion and then the entertainment we used to have. So we are thinking of having the players play more time, and then it puts a lot of strain and fatigue on them. Yeah, aside that, but I can only compare this to an ordinary, just an intercontinental trophy that we used to play, and giving it a new name. That is the only thing I can say. But I can't just compare this, or I can't just put this into the pedigree of the Champions League we have, where we have like competing clubs and the top flight leagues around Europe playing for a particular trophy, and or more or less like a World Cup. Yeah, where we have like most countries like the Brazils, the Argentinas, the England, and then the likes of the good countries playing for a particular tournament. I would say this is just a normal way of FIFA trying to make more money through TV rights, and then also increase their get more money from football. Aside that, it's not really a big competition. We can actually
Uh,
peg it.
uh,
Yeah.
your take,
Okay, this is an issue that has had mixed reactions from very many people, very many stakeholders in football. You saw Jurgen Klopp having his own thoughts about this. Other people also had their thoughts, including Wenger and so on and so forth. But I think it is unfair for Chelsea, who won the competition, or the teams that participated in this competition, to assume that this competition is small because maybe their favorite teams didn't participate, or maybe their favorite teams or their teams did not reach the levels they wanted or so. So I
Yeah.
think that in that aspect is so unfair to Chelsea and the legs who participated in this
Okay.
competition. In my
Okay.
opinion, I think this competition is a better version of the what we had before because, as Obi has said, it was an one-sided kind of a competition where the person who won the UEFA was automatically going to win this competition. But now it is now different. You saw how PSG played in the UEFA of last season so well, so good. They won finals in the Champions League 5-0 and went to the Club World Cup and came back without it. So it is still one-sided, though competitive. It is one-sided in the sense that the European clubs will always win this trophy or so. That's how I see it. They will still win it because if you look at their competitive with these other teams, let's talk about the teams from Brazil. They played so well, but they can't wait any soon. The teams from Africa, we saw how Mamelodi Sundowns and the other ones played, but really they are not going to compete as the way the Europeans compete. So I think
Uh,
it's a better version of what we had
yeah.
before,
Okay.
if I may.
I was even looking at the value of the competition because I know there was much money. The value of the competition was roughly around $1 billion, if I stand to be corrected, about $1 billion. And looking at all this investment that has been made or that has been put into this very kind of tournament, and from henceforth, I had an intel that it's going to be played every 4 years. So it's just going to be like the format of the national teams World Cup. So this is the World Cup of the club teams, like the format of the national teams World Cup. That is what is going to transform to that of the club teams. Yeah, we can have our debate. We can have our misunderstandings around the qualifying system, the kind of clubs that are supposed to play the competition, the kind of process that is supposed to be used, or the procedure we are supposed to go through to be a part of the competition. But aside that, do you think if you were to be a club team to be in this competition, will it be worth it being a part of it? Obi,
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I To be honest, looking at the way the qualification criteria has been set by FIFA and then the UEFA, both FIFA, I think it will be a privilege for a club, any club, to get the opportunity to play in the Club World Cup. Yeah, because it's just a higher level more than your league. And then I would say, yeah, it also puts your team on a different pedestal. For example, we when you look back to Chelsea and then what their performance in the league, it wasn't up to that standard, and now I think most of the fans are calling they have to play interplanet cups where they want to represent X. Yeah, so yeah, I would say it puts your team in a different pedestal. So it's a privilege to play for the likes of Botafogo, who actually had opportunities to call PSG, who was the current
yeah,
European
yeah,
champions. Yeah,
that was an awesome moment for them. You could tell that. I mean, they were not even concerned about winning the competition. The fact that they've been able to beat PSG was was it was a win for them. They were kind of okay with the fact that they've beaten the Champions League champions.
exactly. Yeah. So having let's say we select 12 teams from UEFA, and then you happen to be part of the 12. It's a great feat. So for the likes of Barcelona, Liverpool, who didn't actually meet up to the standard, they might question the value and then the how competitive this tournament is. But I say it's a good place to actually pivot in terms of marketing your club and then letting others know what your
Yeah,
your your club
yeah,
actually stands for. Yeah. So I
yeah.
think it's a privilege. Yeah.
Yeah. So Enoch, you said earlier that you think it's unfair to clubs like Chelsea. I mean, winning it for people to downplay the. I mean, some people are even calling it a preseason tournament. That's how some people are calling it. Um, Taking it from the point of OB, like it's a great time to it's an avenue for you to market your club. If you were to be a club and you find yourself in such a scenario, how are you going to take advantage of this to make it to make your club more attractive?
Yeah, as just Obi has said, I think he has accepted that it is a privilege to be here. It was the first. It is the first. How should I say? It is the first
The fact
tournament.
that Chelsea won doesn't mean, please, please.
It is the first.
Enoch.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
this,
as
this
Obi
guy
has
was
said,
just,
I'll just
yeah.
say and repeat that it is a privilege to be here to market your club and everything. As we know, we all know that right now FIFA is all about making money. And look at the money they were putting there. You were right when you said it is 1 billion that they put, 1 billion US dollars that they put there. And if you look at how the clubs participated and how they got something, these clubs got money. Look at the clubs from Africa that participated. Look at the clubs from also Brazil and everything. So I just want to say that not everyone can be there, but having many people there makes it more interesting. Football has been losing its touch because the commercialization of football, like everybody looks at football and now they look at money. We brought the people from Brazil and they brought us natural football. Everybody liked how they play. All of them played so well. Even the other teams from Argentina that did not go to the advanced stages, they still played so well and they brought that taste of football back to the taste, like the football tasted like football again. If you look at how those people played, so it's worth to be there. It's worth to market your club, even our European clubs. It's also a good avenue for those clubs in South America to show us what they have, the talents they have, and very many people, I assure you, are going to be signed based on their performances from this
Yeah,
tournament. Like
yeah.
I see, Wolf is already on one defender from Fluminense or something. I'm not sure of that, but we are going to see more of this. And so, yeah.
Okay. All right. I would also have loved to see Barcelona and Liverpool at the club. Yeah. So
Um,
so
if
I was
sorry, if I let me chip into this small. I'm not really against uh the fact that Liverpool and then the likes of Barcelona didn't play. I'm trying to downplay FIFA World Cup. I was trying to put the no like put um my opinion across that we can't put a club World Cup, just the fact that we've aggregated some clubs to play and then giving the name Club World Cup doesn't make it a bigger tournament than the tournaments we used to know, like the World Cup, the Champions League, because
yeah,
those teams competing in those tournaments are always investing and are very sharp
yeah.
year in
You
year
have
out.
you
Yeah.
have a
So for
point.
example, even if this is not a wild opinion, I can say I would put the EPL far ahead of the Club World Cup. Why? Because
No.
the clubs are day in day out investing in their clubs. For
Yeah.
example, last season Nottingham Forest but spent so much in the transfers
Yeah.
just to be
Yeah.
competitive in the league. But you
So you
take the
can't
like,
just in one client claim that you
yes, yeah, yeah,
it's more valuable than yeah. I get it.
yeah.
I
That,
get it.
that, that was the point I was trying to make. So the fact that my team Barcelona didn't play doesn't
Yeah.
make the Club World Cup less important. It's obviously a trophy. And
But
hey, eh,
honestly, I would have loved to had seen Barcelona because of Lamine Yamal, the form he had. Like even Liverpool, I would have loved to see like these two teams being a part of the Club World Cup. I would have really loved to. It would have even helped ginger the debate of the Ballon d'Or. Between how do you call it, Dembele and then Yamal, because now we all know it's between these two, and having the two of them at the Club World Cup would have been very fantastic and would have been very interesting for both parties. So back to the Club World Cup.
okay,
Um Before the competition, I know we all had our favorites. We all had our favorites. Apart from people who are staunch, they are staunch fans of their club teams. Me, for instance, I'm a staunch fan of my club, Chelsea. So definitely I would go in favor of Chelsea. But in the general view, or the world's general view, I mean, there were some top teams that were made favorites. We can talk of PSG, we can talk of Madrid, we can talk of Manchester City. There was no mention of some clubs who pulled up surprises. Look at a club team like Al Hilal kicking out Manchester City. Look at a club team like Fluminense kicking out all these big boys. So, uh, getting into the competition, did you guys, think anywhere that these Brazilian teams would pull surprises as they did? Enoch.
Yeah, before we went to the tournament, personally, I'm also a Chelsea fan like you, but I didn't see Chelsea performing the way we performed. And this is something that was off. We couldn't see this. We went there as just an average English team. The only thing that gave us the bragging rights was because we are European and all that. But if you look at this in the perspective of how we performed, we couldn't see that. And this is also the same as somebody like Al Hilal who knocked out Man City. This is the same as somebody like Fluminense who knocked out Inter Milan. So going to this Club World Cup, some of the performances that were seen amongst the clubs was not something that was expected. Like, but that's football anyway. Like sometimes you go very prepared and you think I have it, then suddenly you realize I don't have it. Just like it happened to PSG in the finals.
All right. Obi, what about you?
Yeah, yeah, I was also taken by surprise. Um, with respect to Chelsea's performance, I must say I only support them in the finals. I really didn't think they would get that far, but when they got to the final, I had no option or choice than to support Chelsea because
Okay,
personally,
since you've talked about the final,
okay,
um, uh, I don't know the point you were coming to make, but
okay,
let's move straight into the final.
okay, but
Before the final,
can I
you
make
made
my
mention.
point? Can I make my point before I the only point I wanted to make about this is the only team that surprised me was Al Hilal, right?
Mhm.
Al Hilal, yeah, that was the only team that surprised me.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
yeah,
very good. Oh. Out
yeah,
here, like they played very good. Oh. Even against Madrid, did you watch their game against Madrid?
yeah. I watched
Yeah,
their game. Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
were. They were very, very good. Very,
yeah,
very good. Very, very. Even their keeper Bono.
yeah, yeah.
Bono was good.
I wanted to say
I
something
think
about
Bono was the
their
keeper of the tournament or something. Like he was so good. Like he was so
yes,
Very
good.
good.
yes, yes. Even when you look at the Saudi league, the Saudi Pro League, they perform so well that
Yeah.
even the likes of Al Nazer, they can't compete with them. Even though they have Ronaldo, Mani, and then the rest, but they
Yeah.
can't compete with them. Yeah, because yeah, they are very
So,
good.
Just
all
to
right.
add on, just to add on that, just a slight statement or a comment. Like we are only talking about the people who surprised us to the positive side. We are not talking about the people who surprised us to the other side. Where we'll also talk of definitely Atletico Madrid. Like I didn't see them go out like that. Like I expected them to stage a fight, but suddenly
Very,
they were
very
out.
abysmal performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Very abysmal. Unacceptable.
And Juventus, we can also say the same thing for Juventus.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Juventus they didn't really perform to the best of my satisfaction because I was really expecting a lot from them. Yeah,
Of late, I don't really look at Juventus as Juventus they are, and I used to know. But
Yeah.
anyway, they also didn't perform well. But
yeah.
for the one of Atletico Madrid, that is totally unacceptable for the fans. Maybe, I don't know, but that was not so good.
Yeah. Okay. To the finals.
Yeah, okay.
Bobby, were you expecting Chelsea to get to the finals?
For me, no. But when I looked at how the fixtures were being made after the group stages, I could have actually I then tipped Chelsea to be at the final because of the part they were actually
Yep. All right.
yeah the
All
part they
right.
were actually going yeah.
All right. What were you?
After the group stages, I knew we were getting somewhere, but I didn't think of the finals. I need maybe to semis. I think I even said to some of my friends that hey, we are sneaking into the finals or the semis. Then the person said no, you can't because there is Man City in this side and there is Inter Milan, which definitely are good teams. I didn't see ourselves in the finals, but I saw ourselves in the semis.
Oh, okay. I saw ourselves in the finals when City and Inter Milan were kicked out. So looking at these teams, Palmeiras, Fluminense, yeah, they are going to pull up a fight. But at the end of the day, there's a history between Chelsea and Benfica.
So
Anytime they
you
meet,
weren't afraid. Hi.
yeah, I wasn't afraid. But
Yeah,
where I was scared, I'm being honest. Honestly, I never saw us beating PSG. If I had, even if we were going to beat PSG, not to this level. So Obi, before the game, you were so confident. I mean, I saw I saw you, was it your status or a tweet? I don't know, something like you were like so confident that Chelsea was going to beat PSG. I had no idea. I had no idea how Chelsea was going to beat PSG. I never believed it was going to happen. What what was your take, or from what point of view, from what tactical point of view, from what, because when you try doing the connotations, when you try doing the permutations, everything was against Chelsea. We are talking about the Champions League champions. We are talking about a team that has won the treble. We are talking about a team that has battered every big side in world football. I'm saying world football because world football is European football, because that's the toughest, I mean, competition we know in this world. On what grounds or on what basis were you able to say that based on fact A, B, and C, Chelsea was going to beat PSG?
Okay. Well, I for me, I actually looked at the path in which PSG took to go to the final. I think they played most of the intense games there, and it actually took a great toll on them. I am not downplaying the fact that Chelsea also went through, like, came through an easier path, but you could see a example with the Bayern game, and I think that weakened PSG side because they had two red cards in that match, and so some of the players were missing. But that's not really really a tactical, because a tactical way to actually defend, maybe give Chelsea a higher boost. But then I also look at it from another angle, in the sense that I looked at how Chelsea was going to line up against a team that is so dominant in playing. And I have always maintained the position. My position has always been that if you are going to play a highly possessive team, you should always get good people who can distract play. And then what I saw the coach do something which I was really, really, really happy. The Vico Coel started in the final. I hope you know that, because previously he wasn't really starting, but he started this guy in the final. And then he had to deploy Enzo and then Casado more on the deep side, not an offensive side. If you actually saw that tactical play, more on the deep side, like a two pivot, not one pivot and then two holding, like, so it's two, like Enzo and then this guy Kopama. Yeah, and then when you look at the midfield, I think PSG's midfield, they are not so strong. They are just good passes of the ball. So when I saw this
Maybe
particular, what,
PSG's midfield.
they are not so, I mean, in terms of physique, they are not so strong, but they are just very good in ball carriers and then handling of the ball. That the reason why I'm saying that is, when you look at
Okay, like say a DM, someone who is a distractor, like
not
physical.
no, not even a distractor per se. Even the Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, and João Neves, they are all good carriers of the ball and passes. They are not very strong and physical. Like Enzo Fernandez is a good carrier and also very physical, and
Very
he goes
physical.
into like deep tackles. So when you match player for player, when you match player for player, I always see
Mhm.
Chelsea winning in that battle, because player for player they were winning in the midfield. And then one thing that the coach did that was I was so happy was to actually mark a player for player, not how do I say, a team defense. It was a player for player. You get this ball, I cover your back. You take this player, I also cover your back. So looking at all those tactical tweaks the coach did in the final, and I think he also watched the Butterfego game, in how they actually defended, like a 5-4-1 approach. Yeah, in a defensive structure. I think that also helped. So for me, I was confident because one, the path the PSG was actually taking, it had a great toll on them, and two, the defensive setup and then the midfield shape of Chelsea always made me confident that we were going to win the match, but not a three-goal margin. I was thinking like a 2-1, one
Yeah,
zero,
one
yeah,
nil.
something like that. Yeah. But not a
That's
three-goal margin. For that one, I
yeah,
must accept.
yeah. So I was saying earlier on that I never saw us. I mean, go past PSG. How are we going to score? They were beating teams 4-0, 5, 3-0. Like they only proud to the final. They had only conceded one goal, just a goal.
Yeah, true.
So I was just thinking about how are we going to go past this PSG team? I know from a fanatic point of view, you are going to say, "Oh, yeah, you knew Chelsea would have won. But going into the game, what do you think? What Enoch, I was asking, I said from a fanatic point of view, there's no way you are going to say Chelsea is going to lose. Yes. But looking at the game itself, what do you think was the key? Was the key that led to Chelsea opening or unlocking PSG's defense to be able to score like 3 goals in the first half?
In my opinion, I don't. The reason why I think Chelsea found it easy in this match was just because of one thing. And sometimes in football, it's not all about the tactics or it's not about how good you are. Sometimes emotions play a lot of things. Psychology play a lot before a game or anything. That's where Chelsea won the game from. Let me tell you why. Everybody said to Chelsea, "You are not going to win this match." Everybody, even people that seemed credible, like some of the football legends, some of the people, like as I say, some of the people that you think are credible people, say to Chelsea, "Hey, you're not going to win this match." So when these things were said, I think the PSG players took this thing seriously and they said, "We are going to win this match," as people have said. We are going to win this match, as people have said. Like we are going to win it. It's ours to win. So this is the mentality in which they carried into the match. So I'm a Chelsea fan, yes, but when I looked at the terms of tactics and everything, statistics all was against Chelsea. I looked at how they played against the other old teams, and I felt they were better than us still because look, these people took out Bayern, which is a very good team actually in terms of attacking. These people took out Madrid,
Madrid.
which staged a serious fight before they were taken out, and you could see that clearly. But relatively, the path we took to the finals was much easier. So the reason why we won this match easily was not from the tactical part of it. Though I have to say, I don't. This is not to mean that Maresca had nothing in his brain at all. But what was more of play was the psychology and the emotions that were put into the game before the final things. And actually, I tell you, it is very nice. It is very incredible to play as an underdog because after all, you have nothing to lose. Chelsea went to that match saying that okay, even if they knock us out, that we have made a point. Like no one expected we'll be here. We were here, and we are going out, but we are going out as finalists. That's what they expected at least. But now those are the people like they had nothing to lose. But PSG are coming in like we beat Inter Milan, which was in a great form, 5-0 in the finals. We have a trouble with us already. We have been beating serious people on our heavy, and now we are here. It's just ours to take. So at some point, and you could also tell that PSG was under serious pressure because whatever they expected to be the game was not the game. So they needed to adjust as soon as they could. But the PSG team is not an old team, so you also see that it's not like it's old. It's a mixture of old and new guys. So experience is not so much into the team. They're very experienced teams, but not the PSG team. They have been so good as a team, but individually, individual players, you see there are a lot of maturity is not something that is not in most of them. Look at the kind of yellow card that the red card that Nuno Mendes or what Neves went out with, like some those kind of things. You find that yeah. So that's my take. That's how Chelsea won it. It was not from the tactics. It was purely from the
Right.
emotion and psychology.
Okay, let me also add that just a quick one. I can also say we don't have to downplay the tactical side of the game as well, because it's really crucial in every football match.
Yes,
The
it really.
tactical side,
And
aside the emotional, those ones are just off the pitch and then how players carry themselves about. But if you look at the statistics after the game, pressure applied. When you look at the pressure applied on your opponent, Chelsea was far more, like 100 times more than um, um what they used to do. So you could clearly tell you that they came with a game plan that we don't have to let them settle. If they settle, they get more comfortable. Let's give them pressure upon pressure so that we win the ball and we contain them. So instead of PSG dictating the usual pace, the play, defining the game as they've been doing in previous matches, now let's match them boot for boot. That's, I think, one thing we have to credit Enzo Maresca for that.
you're right.
It,
You're right
yeah,
about that. And I just said like it's not to say that he was completely empty in terms of tactics, but it might take like exactly. You're right anyway.
and we also have to thank our goalkeeper, Sanchez, because that was a surprise I would say a performance, because I've watched him. I watched almost 90% of Chelsea's league matches last season, and the guy was so super bad. But I don't know. Maybe he has a land in America that made him perform like that.
I think he has settled into the squad. You know, he was just coming in, and one time he's not the first, is not the starting, and the second time he's the starting. So he's just taken time and he has settled into the squad. And every player can perform as long as you have the right conditions around you, the perfect things around you. Some any person can perform. Look at Kepa. When he was at his worst at Chelsea, he went to Madrid and at least he was there and won something with him, came back with it, even if he won it from the bench. But at least he did something. And also just to add on what you said, like individual brilliance was something that also worked for Chelsea in that game. Like people had said Palma is no longer the Palma we were expecting. You remember last season at the end of the season, people said things about Palma, but at the end of now this Club World Cup thing, you know what he did and got Chelsea this thing home. So individual
Yeah,
brilliance game like is also another thing that also worked for us in that game, and Palma did what he had to do. If you look at the new signing, Pedro is now giving Jackson sleepless nights. Like yeah, so that's also another thing that also helped.
yeah. So on Palmer's case, player of the tournament, you think he deserved it?
I would say deserved it according to how things have been happening of late in terms of deciding who becomes the player of the tournament or anything. I've seen cases that are like if you look it from game to game, probably not because we saw Palmer only seriously only in two games that he really influenced. He's a good player, yes, he's incredible from the group stages, but in the Club World Cup, he was influential in two games. If you compare this to some other players in other teams, for example, there is one guy called John Arias who was in the Fluminense. He was influential in the
Yeah.
first day of the game until the last day they were knocked out. So in this,
So they exited.
yes, yes. So if I now just do the comparison, I would say Palma deserved it because he carried it home. I want to give an example of 2018 World Cup, if you can all remember, when Hazard did all what he had to do. He dominated the tournament from the first game to the last game when they were knocked out at the semis with the person who won the with the person who really won the tournament. But the person who was the player of the tournament that in that tournament is somebody who maybe we saw him in one or two games and maybe he was then he had it home. So based on those kind of things, then
Yeah.
it's easier to say so.
You know. All right. And Obi, who was your breakout star? Um, any young star, any player we never knew that was exceptional for you in the tournament.
Obviously, I
Okay,
think
I can make mention of
yeah,
Madrid's Gonzalez. What's his name? The striker, that young guy, Madrid striker. What's his name?
Madrid
Enoch,
striker.
the young guy who was the top scorer of the tournament.
Garcia or somebody, I don't know.
Yeah,
Garcia? Yeah,
Gonzalo Garcia. Yeah, Gonzalo
no,
Garcia.
yeah, I think he was my breakout star. Obi, what about you?
For me, I'll go for Arias on any day.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
Arias.
I'll go
All
for
right.
yeah on any
And,
day. Yeah.
For me,
you know,
for me, I won't think so much about this. The person who really surprised me in that tournament was João Pedro, because look, this guy's from Brighton, where kind of he was not really playing well. The people are saying, "Oh, this guy's indisciplined. This guy's this guy's that." Then he comes from straight from holiday. You know how Brazilians party in their holidays. He comes from this holiday, says, "I'm still I deserve some respect, and this is what I can do." And he put himself outside, like everybody now knows him. Previously, I don't think people really minded him so much, even if they knew him, what he did and everything. So for me, is Jao Pedro.
okay, guys. It's been such an in-depth discussion on the Club World Cup. Now we have to